guys, my name is Jay and welcome back to another episode of Space Engineers, where today I'm actually showing off something I have built in vanilla. Yes, you're not going deaf or crazy. I actually have managed to build something in vanilla that looks pretty cool and functions pretty well as well, and I hope that you guys will enjoy it. So why vanilla, Jay? You love mods. Well, mods are currently broken with the textures and everything with the dev build, so I have had to force myself down the route of building vanilla, which has been quite cool, interesting, and very, very eye-opening, because with the blocks and the way you can use blocks in vanilla, I forgot how much fun it is trying to make things look how they should, if that makes sense. Making stuff detailed without having the blocks to provide that detail, and utilizing other features and things. So yeah, what have I built? Well, I started off with like a hangar, and it kind of morphed into this, if I got the camera shot right. And it actually morphed into this, which is, I'm calling it the Titan A, which is the Titan Alpha. And this is probably one of my more detailed and prettier vanilla builds to date. I don't really do a lot of vanilla builds, but this has actually come out considerably well. So this thing is designed to fly space and deploy crafts. It has a building sort of facility in there, which is manual, so you do have to actually have a welding torch and put the materials on and whatever, but I've made it as close as possible to the action so people won't be travelling too far to pick up materials and resources. One of the things it does lack is quite a big carrying capacity. I've built it so there is sufficient carrying capacity, but I think for a carrier it needs to have more, but the space that was I give myself didn't really cater for that. Also, you'll notice it's very hydrogen heavy, because I found that ion thrusters I would need considerably more of to make it move as well as it does with the hydrogen, and there just wasn't space. So I've had to compromise with hydrogen and atmospheric, because this thing will land on planets as well, and I need the atmospheric thrusters to get it out of orbit. So yeah, here it is. Let's just have a gander around. So I think the best features on this craft are its front and rear thruster pods, because they're offset in a way that just looks really cool and looks like something out of Star Wars. If you look at it, I like how I've managed to get this, because it just looks really pretty, and I've even added these like these thruster vents on that sort of, yeah, they're just there to sort of give protection to the thrusters and make sure nothing too big gets sucked into them and blown out the back end. But yeah, it features 4 hangars, which again, I started with one hangar design, and then sort of I literally put like 1, 2, 3, I put 5 of them together, and was like, okay, I could make this pod a hangar, this pod a hangar, and then the other 3 could become other spaces. So what we actually have is we have a living quarters here, hangar, a building area, hangar, and then another living quarters. So the crew that would man this ship actually have sufficient space to sort of live. There isn't any toilets though, because toilets in Space Engineers is quite difficult to portray. Besides, you could just, you know, if you just put a chair down, but chairs don't really look like toilets, and with the extra detail now, they really don't look like toilets. So toilets in Space Engineers is a really difficult thing. It really bugs me that I can't do that, and that there aren't any sort of vanilla detail blocks like that. But, you know, one day in the future, let's hope that there will be. So yeah, so what we've got is we've got these 4 hangars, 4 living quarters, and 2 build bays. Then we have this central section which houses a lot of the industrial blocks, like the hydrogen storage and all that other gubbins. And I like it. I like what I've done, because these blocks, the supports actually look like chains, which makes it really cool. So putting those on for supports just looks really, really pretty and awesome. The cockpit, well, the control room for this is outside essentially, and sort of up and away from it, which I really wanted, because I think having it there gives it a little bit of attitude. Also, it takes it sort of gives it a new level of height, if that makes any sense, and it just looks a lot better. I did try multiple sort of designs, and this way you're able to see all the ships flying around. There is a bit of a blind spot on the back, but you're able to see a large percentage of the ships that are flying around you, and it just looks, again, 10 times better. like that, and I think it's going to stay like that for the future. But yeah, so the hangars are quite special. They do have this feature where if you get close enough to them, they open. Now, they do depressurize at the moment because, of course, with this, I'd need to put timer blocks in. And I've tried to make it as simple as possible without any of that gubbins, because I've actually been finding buttons and timers are a little bit buggy with the dev build. They are slightly annoying because they either don't work when you hit them, or they seem to lose the button that they're clicking. And I have checked, I'm not changing anything, it is purely the game. So I've kind of moved away from that complexity and made it a lot simpler for people, so you guys can just drag and drop it in. The sensors will pick you up if you're, if you're friendly to the ship, and you can jump in and out. There aren't any other doors besides the hangar doors to get in and out of this place, but I like it as it is, to be fair. So, in here, this is one of the sort of the landing bays you've got. You've also got another one at the back, and then you've got this build section. This build section houses a rotor with a projector block on, which projects a little fighter that I made, which isn't the best. So if I turn it on, it isn't the best, but it's a sufficient little dude. It has some Gatling cannons on, and it fits in here as well, because getting stuff to fit in here isn't great, and I'm not great at building vanilla small ships, so I kind of farted around with something and came to a happy medium, and it's here now. So yeah, feel free to build that and test it out if you want. It's a little bit sluggish, but I like it. It's cool, it's cute. So we then also have some production blocks here, which are the oxygen generators, because with having lots of hydrogen required for the thrusters, I've had to put these sort of in strategical places and hide them around the ship, because there isn't a lot of space to put production blocks. And again, I've had to hide them because yeah, it's just difficult to put them in one centralized area. And plus, if you've got them scattered around, it means if one side of the ship gets shot, you're not going to lose everything because they're not in one place, and you're going to be able to maintain production of hydrogen and fly off. We then also have some cargo containers which are dotted around because I try to give this ship, again, ample space, but with the fact that the hydrogen tanks are in here, I couldn't put cargo or large cargo containers, so I struggled for space there as well. But I sort of worked it out and just dropped loads of small cargo containers around, which I think is ample for the amount of ships that would be flying out of this craft. So we'll just move and go around all these sections, and I'll show you the living quarters, which are quite nifty. So up here we have all the power. So the power supplies are racked up here. Again, no real storage for the large reactors, so I've used small. I put them in the ceiling because I thought it'd look quite cool. And we've got some other production blocks hidden away here, as well as some air vents, just providing us with oxygen. And then we have the hydrogen tanks up here as well, and then that is pretty much a mirror image down here, so it's not very different. And we got lots of open space which I couldn't fill because, of course, Space Engineers doesn't allow me to merge blocks together in a way like putting a seat by this glass. I can put them on here because the glass is on the outside, but here I can't because the glass is put on the inside, because if it was on the outside it would just fly off. So that was the compromise there, and we've got a nice little watching area here, so you can just browse over on what's going on down here. Then if you look past this window, you actually have a bit of a viewing platform within the living quarters, so you can view what's going on outside and actually control things from inside a safe sort of area when these doors are open, which is good. But the only issue is there isn't connection between the living areas and the cockpit or the control room. So once you're in there, you're kind of stuck while the hangar doors are open in a space environment, which could mean disaster. But I think if the ships were to utilise these doors as an open and close when necessary sort of feature, I think it'd work quite well, because people can move around and then the doors are open. Or you just tell people to keep their freaking helmets on and just depressurise the whole thing. So open up the doors, we go into one of the first living quarters. Now, I've tried to integrate small and large with the rotor trick, and what I've done is I've sort of built these little tables which house various different things. So I've actually got like a lighting strip that goes all the way around this, and I've actually used some rotor heads as just some odd detail here. And we've actually got some ground down blocks that they're working on in their spare time, while they're just waiting to be deployed. So they could be looking and tinkering on these on these atmospheric thrusters and seeing how they can make them faster and whatever. We then have some beds. We have batteries that are tucked away by the beds because, again, no real space to sort of place them. And then we have some gyroscopes which are sort of tucked away nice and neatly up there. Best part about having the gyroscopes there is if one were to break or something, you have easy access to repair them. So you can, get to them. It's nice to be able to get to some of the more expensive parts that you build in Space Engineers. So moving on over to the other side. Note we are on the which side are we on? We are on the front of the ship, and what we actually have on this side is we have a sort of a work area. So this is an area where people can sit down and sort of look at their PCs and dabble away. Now, the seating in Space Engineers still is a little bit weird, because I think we're way too high and way too lurched over on a seat, and it seems like we're not close enough. It just seems too far away. So I think they need to fix that with tomorrow's update. If they could, that'd be brilliant. But we then also have, again, the same sort of bedding layouts. There is a bed over here as well, and that's the same on all 4 pods. And then this is that area that you can sort of watch over and control things from. Also, we have lots of nice windows, because I wanted to give some natural light into this craft and into these areas, because it just looks a lot nicer and it feels a lot nicer, and you don't feel like you're in a prison. Let's move on to the back. To the back, we actually have, in this one, we have a kind of air hockey layout. So this is like the more relaxed squadron of fighters. So they'd be playing ping pong or whatever, and I've just put these buttons here as just for show. It's like dispensers for the puck, and you'd be ping 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 ping. I just figured let's mix it up, and it does look kind of cool. I was thinking of adding lights, but I thought it might look a bit too tacky. So yeah, there we go. We have a nice thing there. It was going to be a billiards or a pool sort of table. Is it billiards, pool, or snooker? Either way, it was going to be one of the other, but it made more sense to be an air hockey thing, so it kind of turned into that. Moving on to the last one, and we have another sort of work area, but it's divided up twice. I did have a projector here originally showing some plans to like another ship. It just didn't look right in here. It's not a planning room. This room is purely for recreation and any other things. And we actually have like I don't know, like a nice desk here where you got a nice workflow. You got like your nice your block here that's your programmable block that you could tabble away on with a little keypad. We then have a little keypad. I've used the control block there, and then we've got 3 screens for doing various things. And yeah, that's the living quarters. I like them. I think they're very cozy, and I think I've done a good job, being as I didn't really know what I was doing with vanilla big ships, and with that feature now with the rotors, it's a lot easier to integrate small and large blocks. So, moving on to the control area, which you have to pass through this corridor here, which is more for safety, because if that door were to break, you've then got this secondary door. And then we go up the Death Star stairs, and we're into the control and medbay area, because I wanted the medbay to be in a reasonably safe area, and this is reasonably safe in the grand scheme of things, because the hangars would be the first option, because the hangars and the power supply are all in one place, so people would go and shoot them first. And if you've got people who need health, or the commander of the ship, he is in this area, so people would probably go for the hangars first and then this, so it's a little bit safer. And the medbay is kind of tucked away. It's underneath lots of blocks. It's kind of nicely sandwiched. So we have lots of cryopods here, which again kind of makes sense having the cryopods next to the medbay. And then we have some seats, and this is kind of like Councillor Corner, where the councillor would sort of chat shit with you and be like, how does that make you feel, blah blah blah. And yeah, that's that room. So let's move on upward. We have access to cargo up here, which I think is a good option, because I actually found myself going, well, how the fuck am I going to get blocks or parts up to here? And because all this is interconnected by conveyors, I figured I'll just put some freaking cargo containers down, which, if I'll be completely honest, this one is really bugging me. So I'm gonna just, there we go. It's in the right orientation now. Happy days. So up the stairs we go, and we're in the main sort of control area, which does have a nice viewing roof, which is quite useful, especially if you want to see if you're upside down and you want to look down at a planet, or if you're right side up and you want to look up at any ships that are flying around in the air at the moment. You've got that, and then you've also got this nice almost 360 view, which is kind of cool. And you still can kind of see out the back if you got it your cockpit and actually were walking around. And then this is where you'd sit, which is very open. You can see exactly what's going on from here. So without further ado, I've talked long enough, and we're going to head down to the planet, and we're going to find a nice landing spot, which I actually think would be down here. So we're going to head that way, because that seems like a big landmass of ice. We're just going to fly fairly quickly at this, because it's going to take us a while. Okay, so we are 4,500 meters out. Now I just want to show you guys something about the way this thing flies, because if you notice how responsive it is to movement, and how easy it is to maneuver for a ship of this size, which is 2 million tons, nearly 3. Well, 2 million kilograms, nearly 3. It's quite a large mass to move around, and because it's got the hydrogen thrusters, it's very easy to maneuver, especially with having lots of gyroscopes as well, because I think there's probably 20 on this, which is probably a bit overkill, but it doesn't overload or anything, because again we're using a lot more hydrogen than when we are powered thrusters. So yeah, it's a lot easier to maneuver than other big crafts you'll see and other carriers you'll see. But we are going to have to start our descent and slow down, because we're not going to slow down in time if we keep going at the planet at 100 meters a second. What we'll do is we'll slow down in that. Oh. There we go. So just in the nick of time, the thrusters have kicked in. And they do that because if you're quite high up, they don't really have much impact, because there's not a lot of air for them to push around. But once you start getting lower down to the surface of the planet, you really do have a lot of stopping force. But we're just going to take this and hit the floor. There we go. Now, for whatever reason, every time I freaking use this ship, everything sinks into the floor and dies. That's something new. So I did just take a lot of damage then, because Space Engineers doesn't recognise floors. My god, what a piece of junk that feature is. So we're just going to get close to the floor again. Oh my god, what the fuck? This is something. Let's hit P and just lock ourselves down and just hit Z. Turn all that shit off, and we're going to turn off our hydrogen as well as our Atmos. We'll just go out and survey the damage. Now, Space Engineers would never normally do that, because we had sunk through the floor, and yeah, you saw it. We sunk through the floor, and it just broke. Just fucked up. Oh, I forgot one feature. How could I forget that feature? Another feature of this is we have blast doors. So if you want to close off the big windows to the outside, you can actually do that with the blast doors. And we go close, and you'll actually see these close up, and they'll block out all the light and mean it's a lot safer for you to be flying around in dangerous areas where rockets could be thrown at you and stuff. But let's just survey this damage. So we actually lost one set of landing gears, which, Jesus Christ, it's because we sunk through the floor and then it just hit pure light armor, which was a bit of a shitter. But yeah, it got onto the surface of the planet. Again, it's a little bit unreactive sometimes, whether that's Space Engineers or the ship needs a bit of tinkering with the thrusters, I don't know. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed that. It's been a bit of a long video. Thank you for staying to the very end if you did. And I will see you guys later. Peace! Oh, and also the ship is on the workshop now. I completely forgot to tell you. Go and check it out. Links in the description. See you later, shitlords.